In life, we encounter people every day, all of whom have stories to share. We rarely take the time to ask people their personal stories, many of which will touch, move, and inspire us in some way. Matt has a passion for making authentic connections and learning about people from all walks of life. He has lived a life of giving back to the community and making a difference in people's lives. Are you ready to meet fascinating people and hear some inspiring stories? The Matt Hilton Show will introduce you to a world of possibilities you never knew existed. Sit back, be present, and enjoy. Here's your host, Matt Hilton.
Hey everyone, Matt Hilton here, the host of the Matt Hilton Show. Thanks for tuning in today. Today's guest is an acquaintance of mine, and he owns his own training company here in the Dallas area. You don't want to miss his story. Stay tuned for a word from our sponsor.
With almost 20 years of real estate experience in the North Texas area, the professional realtors at Hilton Realty Advisors have helped over 500 clients with their housing needs. Hilton Realty Advisors covers all areas of real estate: buying, selling, building, investing, and renting. We deliver the keys to homeownership to all through integrity, love, and joy. Call us today for all of your real estate needs.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in today to the Matt Hilton Show. Today's guest is an acquaintance of mine who was introduced to me. His name is Clyde Joseph, and he runs a company called HCL. Stands for Habits, Consistency, and Longevity.
Yes,
so
sir.
Clyde, thanks for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So what is the meaning behind the habits, the consistency, and longevity? What kind of company do you run?
That's my philosophy when it comes to training my clients and also myself. I figure that if you have the right habits established in your life, that you can be consistent with those habits. In return, you can produce longevity, whether it's in work, your overall health, just being able to do the things you love for a long period of time.
Okay. So it sounds like an equation to me, right?
I used to be a math teacher.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. I didn't know that. There we go. All right. So it is an equation.
Right.
Habits and consistency equal longevity.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Fantastic. So let's go back a little bit. You said you were a math teacher. So let's start. Where did you grow up?
Okay, I grew up in Lafayette, Louisiana. I also graduated from the University of Lafayette, Louisiana, in political science with a minor in history. So I chose not to go to law school, right?
Okay.
And then later down the road, became a high school teacher where I taught Algebra 1 and then applied math to special needs kids. So I did that for 4.5 years. And during my tenure, I was also a personal trainer on the side, like part-time, outside of the school system.
Okay. And where did you go to college?
University of Lafayette, Louisiana.
Lafayette, Louisiana. Okay. And so your college experience, was there anything in life that happened like to a family member or personally that made you develop this passion for health and longevity and living your best life?
Not necessarily in college. I always been an athlete growing up, read track, basketball, did some boxing and karate. But I just had a passion for like working out, like just being strong and being fit, and obviously you want to look good aesthetically, right? But that passion for habits, consistency, and longevity didn't come to about maybe 4 years ago. I had a hernia surgery. I was rushed to the hospital, going through that like rehab after the surgery. I just started to think and reflect, like, what do I want to do as far as like what's my mission statement for training? Like, I'm not playing sports anymore. Like, what do exactly I want to do to, pass on to my clients and also just train myself in life, right? So I'm not like worried about getting strong or being like the strongest guy in the room. And I just started to think, well, if you want to create something new, you have to have new habits established first, right? Mm-hmm. And with those habits, you have to find a way to be consistent with those habits. And what's your overall goal, Clyde? Okay, longevity. I want to be as healthy as I can for a long period of time as I age. So that's where that philosophy started, and
Okay.
I guess the brand for my company. And then I just started like passing on that knowledge and, training methodology to my clients and friends as well.
Right, right. So when you were a teacher, let's go back to those days.
Yeah.
You were in math and you taught special needs kids. What did you teach to them again?
Applied math
Applied
skills.
math skills.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was your experience like being a teacher? Like, give me a teacher's perspective. And what years was this?
This was 6 years ago.
Okay.
I taught for 4.5 years. And my experience with being a teacher, I learned a lot of patience. Like with kids, right?
Okay.
Just all coming from different backgrounds and just patience, and everyone learns differently. And I took that same like just learning experience with them, and I use that same learning experience for my clients right now, because everyone, perceives and takes in information on a totally different level, right? But overall, it was great. Great. I learned a lot about myself, became like more responsible with my like scheduling, like workload. Had to do lesson plans and like grade papers. So I had to have like a strict, pretty much schedule to get those things done in a timely manner.
Right, right. And as a teacher, because I've known some teachers in my past and in my present, how was it interacting with the parents? I hear a lot of teachers say, "Man, if the parents weren't involved, the students are great." So, what is your experience with with parents?
That is true. All right. If the parents are involved in the kids' lives, then obviously you're gonna have a different kind of relationship with that kid within the classroom setting, right? They're more apt to listen to you and follow instructions more than likely. And the kids that didn't have that supportive parent, or maybe parents who were like working or just not there, it came with a set of difficulties that were pretty challenging within the school system, within the classroom.
Yeah, for sure. And just to back up, I didn't mean that, my statement wasn't parents that were involved, was a bad thing, right? I was just, what I was stating is like, you have those parents that are involved, and like you just stated, the children can thrive more. They seem to be more interactive. They adhere to discipline a little more than those that may not have parents involved. Then you have the helicopter parents. Maybe I should have said it a different way.
Okay.
So the helicopter parents are the ones that, from what I hear, right, and have experienced, tend to be the pot stirrers, the people who, make the job for the teachers a little harder. Right? Did you have that experience at all?
No, I didn't have that experience, but I did have like the helicopter parents, obviously, but I didn't have like that experience, right? They actually kind of like made the job a little bit more easier for me.
Oh, yeah. Tell me a little bit more.
I mean, with the helicopter parents, as you just stated, they were very like engaged with their kids' studies and making sure the kid is getting, the proper attention within the classroom setting, being that it's a special needs class, right? So they were very like, easy to work with. They just wanted to make sure the kid was getting the best education within the classroom setting, and it wasn't that they were being avoided or just pushed aside.
Right. And teaching special needs kids, I'm assuming that you learn some valuable lessons in teaching those children as well.
Oh, yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
Is there any situation or anything that you can think of that you would like to share with the audience today, as far as an experience that you had while teaching the special needs children, and what we could be aware of as people that may have kids that are in school that aren't special needs? How does that play?
I think with the special needs kids, you come to find out that they just need that like attention and guidance. They need like that probably more structure than the other kids in the class, right?
Right.
So with that, I just had to make sure that I was always there and present, not just for them, every student, of course, but just for them, like specifically, even more so.
Right.
Right. They just needed not someone to hold their hand, but just someone just to make sure that they want to feel supported. They want to feel like you care, that just care about me as a person.
Right.
Right. Just forget the schoolwork. Just make sure you care about me as a person, as a human being. And I think once they feel like you care about them, they're going to like easily buy into what you're teaching them. Right. They're going to want to pay attention. They're going to want to be more engaged and do their work. Compared to me being, avoidance of just like, oh, this kid can't really learn like the other kids can. So I just wanted to make sure that I was there for each student, and of course, the special needs kids more than, any others.
Yeah. And you just reminded me of something that I've learned through my life is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Right. And I think that, you just stated that in so many words. And I think that can be applied to what you do now. People they care about what you know, right? But they don't care as much about that until they know that you care about them.
Right. You have to be invested.
Right.
Like once you're invested and they see that and like feel that, then okay, now they care about what you know.
So what do you do, or what have you done in the past to help people understand that you do care about them?
Well, currently I'm looking at getting education like every year, right? So I always attend 2 seminars based on what I teach and my training philosophy for my clients. That way they know that I'm always trying to grow and trying to give back information that I'm learning at these seminars to make sure I can provide a great service to them.
Okay. So before the show, you had told me that you've been involved in different health panels and things of that nature. What have been some of your experiences in sharing? You know, if you've been on a panel, you hear all sorts of different other philosophies, and are there some philosophies out there that you raise an eyebrow to, or that you don't necessarily agree with?
Not necessarily, but the one I've done recently was a brain and health panel and how it's related to physical wellness and fitness. And like what I teach my clients when it comes to like connecting the dots to the brain and health and the physical needs is when you do physical movements, like as far as like mobility, right? I teach this thing called CARS, controlled articular rotations. And with that, the body collects a signal from your movement to the central nervous system. Therefore, it can send it back out to do more complex movements. So for example, if you're not sending the signals to your body on how to move your shoulder, right? Mm-hmm. And you're living more of a sedentary lifestyle, well then the brain and central nervous system tends to forget how that shoulder operates. So through time, it starts to deteriorate the bone density, tissue quality, and also muscle.
Interesting. So does that have anything to do with when you're working out and you're not focusing on a certain muscle when you're lifting weights or whatever the case is, like you're not training the right muscle? Is that related in any way?
Yeah, it plays a part in not having the proper like prerequisites to train the right muscle. So not having the proper ranges of motion within, let's say, the shoulder and the elbow, right? You're trying to train your biceps, but if you don't have the proper requisites on how much range of motion your elbow has or your shoulder has, then the bicep that you're trying to train, you're going to only reach a certain plateau. And then you might start to compensate somewhere else because you don't have the prerequisites to obviously gain the appropriate goal you're shooting for.
Okay. Wow, there's a lot we could dig into there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Your clients now, is it mainly weight training? Is it like what all, are you a dietitian? What all comes with what you provide to your clients?
It's definitely weight training, like I said previously, mobility training, and then also biomechanics, like teaching proper movements for weightlifting. So teaching someone how to squat properly, how to lunge properly, how to push and pull weights properly as well. I'm not a dietitian, but I do coach nutrition based on portion control, like throughout the day with each meal. And that's more beneficial in my eyes. It's more sustainable for someone than like, creating a diet and hoping they follow it.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a minute, because I have trained for a while, right? In the past, I'm currently training. And what I have found with me is it doesn't matter how much I train. If I don't feed my body the way it needs to be fed, the training it's probably good for me, but I don't see the results.
Right.
So how important is what you put into your body versus the weight training itself?
I would say it's 9% nutrition and 10% training. It's very important.
90% nutrition?
90% nutrition and 10% training.
Go ahead.
You have to put the proper nutrients and like calorie intake in your body, whether you're trying to gain weight or lose weight. And then the quality of food, of course, along with your water intake. So that's like very much more important than just training. Because like you just said, you were training, but then, the nutrition wasn't there. So the training, you won't really benefit from it, as you should.
Right. So is there a best practice that you know of to help people? Because you say like people learn in different ways, right? Some are visual, some are auditory, like you could just tell them, hey, do this, and they would know what to do, right? Sometimes you have to show them something. And then sometimes they're kinesthetic, right? They've got to touch and feel things.
Right.
So how would you relate that to someone who are those different 3 types of learners?
Well, Around nutrition or just okay.
Around nutrition.
Around
Because
nutrition.
people have a hard time like keeping track of what they eat, like what they put into their body. And like I can go on to whatever app it is and input, but then after 2 or 3 meals maybe, I can't remember what, when I put in my body, 10 minutes ago, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you do to help your people?
I say start small, right? Start small with incremental goals, reach those goals first, and then let them accumulate over time. So for example, let's say you're a coffee drinker in the morning, and your first thing that you do when you wake up, besides brushing your teeth and that you drink coffee. Well, when you drink your coffee, pair it with a glass of water. That way you can up your water intake, right? So if you just do that every Monday, I'm not looking for you to do it every single day, right? Because say you haven't done it at all, so you're trying to create this habit, this new routine, right? So pair your glass of coffee with a glass of water every Monday for a month, maybe say 4 to 6 weeks, right? Then gradually build upon that every Monday and Tuesday now. So just start small with implementing things with things that you're already doing.
Okay.
Because it's hard, I find it hard to just start a whole new set of habits and try to create this routine when you're new to it, right? You're accustomed to living like this and making these choices. So in order for you to, create these habits and be consistent with these habits where they become a routine, well, then you have to start small. So just start implementing small things with every meal.
So it sounds like you attest to more of a lifestyle. Than a diet.
Right.
So explain the difference between the two.
The difference between the two, I feel with a lifestyle, it's more sustainable, right? It's more like realistic. With a diet, you might be in and out. You probably start a diet, and might last 4 to 6 weeks, maybe let's say 4 months. Right? Your diet lasts 4 months, but then you get tired of it. Maybe you get tired of eating the same proteins and vegetables and carbs, and it's just unrealistic. So you revert and you go back to your old habits, your old way of living. That's easy, right? So I just think with the lifestyle, it's more sustainable, and that's something you can just do without even thinking about doing. Because now it's part of your routine. It's something that you do every single day. And that's going to last you to the test of time.
Right.
That's going to help promote longevity.
Okay. What else would you say helps with that plan of longevity? Like what are the top 3 habits if you say, because I would almost say that coffee has water, it's made from water, so that is some water. So I'm assuming you don't believe that that doesn't count.
No,
okay.
It doesn't count. Doesn't count.
So what are some other types of habits besides maybe adding some water to, your intake in the mornings when you have your first cup of coffee? What are 2 or 3 others that you would say are simple habits, but yet over time, they're going to have the greatest return?
I'll say journal. I think journaling and writing things down plays a big part in creating new habits.
Okay.
Like I said previously, if you pair your coffee with water, right, write that down also. Kind of have a plan going into the day. So I'm going to have coffee, I'm going to have my water. If I'm trying to increase my water intake for lunch, I'm going to have, my salad, but I'm also have a glass of water. And try to document that on Mondays, not every day. Start on Mondays first, and then let that accumulate over time. And then hold yourself accountable. If you don't have a glass of water, try your best to hold yourself accountable. That way you do it next time. And don't beat yourself up about it, because we all fall short, make mistakes. But that's the point of growing and trying to evolve and create these habits. I think if you jot information down that, okay, I have my glass of water, I can check that off. At the end of the day, you'll be proud of yourself.
Yeah. So besides maybe pairing water to, your morning coffee or whatever that looks like, and journaling, are there a couple of others that you would say are some pretty simple things to integrate into a person's daily routine to create a habit?
Oh, daily routine, I would say movement. And when I speak on movement, it doesn't have to be in the weight room, right? You can go for morning walks. You can go for evening walks or walks at night, whatever fits in your schedule and whatever you prefer, just start there. Because it doesn't have to always be going, lift weights and being in a gym setting. Whatever you enjoy doing, it could be a hobby that you enjoy doing, like dancing, just something that promotes movement. Because more movement is better than no movement at all,
Right.
for the human body.
Okay. And how important is stretching before you start a workout routine?
Stretching is the most important thing you do. Your routine before you go lift weights is in my eyes, the most important thing you can do, because you're prepping your body, right, for the weightlifting session. So you can stretch. I use mobility techniques to warm the joints up, the muscle, connective tissue. That's a must in my eyes. Like, you have to do that.
So were there certain exercises that you would suggest people do to warm up, and for how long?
I think it should last no more than, say, really 5 minutes, right? There's a really good mobility routine you can do, and it's just taking your joint through its natural motions, right? So, I mean, for the wrist, for example, I can demonstrate here. For the wrist, for example, you just hold your hand here, and the wrist has 4 different zones it moves in, right? So you can go here into extension, here to flexion, inversion, and eversion, and then 2 circles clockwise and 2 counterclockwise. That's prepping your wrist for any pushing or pulling you're going to do within that gym setting. So no longer than 5 minutes.
Okay, great. So as far as we talked about diets and things, are there diets that you think are damaging to a person's body? And what should people avoid doing?
I don't think diets are damaging people's bodies. I just think that there's probably a diet for, this is case dependent, right? It's a diet for each individual. Just because a paleo diet might work for me, it might not work wonders for you, And once again, it's like, can you sustain that diet that you're starting, right? So I don't think there's any diets that are damaging. I think the best answer for that question is you have to meet with your doctor or dietitian, right? Just to see what your body can respond well to. Maybe do some blood work just to see what you can intake and what your body needs, where you're deficient at, and what's the best foods you can consume.
When you meet with clients, is there a common question that they ask, or is there a common thread that you have seen when people come to see you?
I think one of the most common questions goes for people is weight loss. It's definitely weight loss. Like, how can I lose the stomach fat here or the fat behind my arms? That's like the most asked probably question from like a new client, right? That's, wants to start this journey on training.
Yeah. And so training in and of itself, as we discussed earlier, isn't going to take care of that.
No, but they
fat, right?
necessarily don't know that,
Right.
Or maybe they do, but they just, they need some help, some guidance there, right? That They're coming to you because you're the expert, and they figure you can guide them along this journey to where they can lose this body weight.
Sure. So what is the mission? I mean, I know you talked about HCL and, and what that formula equates to, right? So is there a mission to your company and what you want to accomplish? What is your big why?
The mission is to motivate, inspire, and educate. So I always want to make sure that if we're training in a one-on-one setting or in a group setting, I want to make sure that each individual can take something away from this training session. Because realistically, I won't be training you forever, but I want you to learn as much as you can throughout each session. That way you can pass it along to a friend, your wife, husband, kids. I just want to make sure that I'm a pillar in the community of health and wellness, and that people can, gain knowledge and be inspired by my story, be inspired by the hard work that they see I'm putting in outside the gym to be able to bring to them inside the gym. And then also just motivate, because not everyone, is self-motivated, right? We all need that push sometimes, whether it's external or you find some way internally to activate it,
Someone who is a trainer such as yourself, a lot of people will look at you and go, he must not have a day that he does bad. It must be, really easy for him to do. Is that true, or is that a myth?
That is totally a myth. That is not true. I mean, I'm disciplined, don't get me wrong, but I have my days. On like a Saturday or Sunday, I might indulge in, some foods that I would never indulge in during the week. But I have my moments, so for sure.
Yeah.
I have my vices,
Okay. But those moments, those vices aren't something that turns into a habit.
No.
Because
they
you
don't.
know that they can't, or the results will
Exactly. And
negative.
I kind of refuse to let like certain things turn into a habit, like certain foods that I might intake every once in a while turn into a habit, because I know the outcome. If that starts to override what I normally do, there's some health issues to be concerned about with like consuming too much artificial sugars, right? Or not drinking enough water, like just things like that. I'm aware of the outcome on the other end. So therefore I just, do it in moderation.
Yeah. So what type of effects does alcohol have on the body if you're trying to lose weight?
Oh my God, alcohol. First of all, alcohol disrupts sleep. And sleep is vital, just like nutrition and recovery. And, you go to the gym and you work out, you train, you break the body down, tear the muscles, tear down the bone. Well, during your sleep, right, that's when you recover and the body repairs itself. But when you drink alcohol, that causes you to sleep in fragments. So you actually wake up more than what you normally would, but you don't really remember, right? Because you're, slightly intoxicated. But that definitely plays a part into your sleep behavior. And it wakes you up middle of the night a few times, and your body doesn't actually recover and rebuild itself. It actually sets you back like weeks. So if you go out on a Saturday night, let's say you've been training, hard, 8 weeks, you go out on a Saturday night and you indulge in, too much alcohol. I'm not saying don't drink, right? Definitely in moderation, but if you consume too much alcohol, well, that's going to push you back a few weeks in these goals you're trying to reach, in the weight loss you're trying to lose, right? Because your body is not being able to sleep and repair itself because of the alcohol consumption.
Okay. Is there anything other than alcohol that would cause that to happen too?
Anything besides alcohol? Probably poor nutrition will cause that to happen, but definitely alcohol. There's been some studies with that. Definitely alcohol will cause you to sleep in fragments and definitely disrupt your sleep. You're looking at elevated resting heart rate. I mean, I wear this Whoop here. It tracks like, my sleep and my daily activities. So if you have a night where you drink too much, your resting heart rate is going to definitely elevate than what it normally would be with no alcohol intake.
Right. And stress causes your body to do some funny things too, right?
Yeah, stress. There's good stress and there's bad stress, right? The problem will be chronic stress. Not acute stress, but chronic stress. Like if you're constantly just stressing, that's definitely a wear and tear in the body, right? You don't want to just stay in that fight or flight phase. You definitely want to come back to rest and digest. And there's certain things you can do, like meditation, yoga, any hobby that you might really enjoy to help you control that stress. But stress is definitely something to look out for, especially if you're a chronic stressor.
Okay. Thanks for tuning in today. Tune in next week for the second part of Clyde Joseph's story. And also, please remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Have a great day.
If you'd like to contact Matt or know a fascinating person with an inspiring story that would make a great guest, reach out to the show at themattHiltonshow@gmail.com.